Welcome everyone to the second round of the Norway Chess 2026. On the left of your screen, you have Wesley So, tremendously strong grandmaster from the Philippines. He takes on the world champion Domaraju Gukesh in this classical encounter. The Norway Chess has a very interesting time control in classical chess. They have 2 hours for the entire game, but after the 40th move you start to get 10 seconds increment, so that's the only extra time you have, and so the players have to play very carefully with that time. A handshake here, and Wesley begins the game. He plays pawn to e4. Now let's see what Gukesh responds back with. He plays his pawn to e5, very solid move. Knight to f3, and we will most likely see knight to c6. I haven't ever seen Gukesh playing the Petrov. I think this is one thing that maybe we'll never see Gukesh do in his career, but who knows. Let's see. a6 played. And so we have the Ruy Lopez main line, bishop a4 and knight to f6, attacking the pawn on e4. He plays it. Many ways to play for white here. One is d3, the other is castles, which is the main move, and Gukesh plays the closed Ruy Lopez with bishop e7. The open one would happen after knight takes pawn, rook e1. So Wesley going for the main line. This has become less and less frequent, with moves like d3 becoming more popular, but clearly rook e1 has seen, thousands and millions of games, in fact, online. Bishop on this diagonal, you go d6 with the idea of playing knight a5. It's very interesting that Gukesh and Wesley have chosen the most classical system to play today. c3, and Gukesh goes short castles. And now d4 is one idea, but bishop g4 comes in. So first h3, stopping bishop g4 and preparing d4. And now the main move, like the Chigorin, is with knight a5, but Gukesh goes for the Breyer variation. Gyula Breyer, a player from Hungary, kind of popularized this undeveloping move. The idea is that you say that my knight has done its job on c6, I'll reroute it to d7, so that the other pieces are happy. Bishop b7, c5 and so on. So bishop goes to b7, now putting pressure on the e4 point, and bishop comes back to c2, also defending the e4 pawn. Rook e8 is a very typical idea. Bishop f8 and putting more pressure on e4. So knight goes to f1, and now bishop to f8. You have 3 pieces now looking at e4, and white has also 3 pieces defending e4. Pawn goes to g6 with the idea of bishop g7. You have bishop to g5, pinning the knight. h6, asking question. The bishop can drop back. I think bishop e3 would be a bad move, because then you are blocking the path of the rook. So bishop d2, bishop g7 by Gukesh. This is all part of preparation, although Wesley has taken 16 minutes. I think it's more to recollect his lines than him thinking on the board. a4 now, hitting on the queen side. Knight goes to b6. So Gukesh plays something quite direct. He says that I'm putting pressure on a4, and Wesley takes it. He takes the pawn on b5. A takes b5 taken. And b3 played. So taking away the c4 square from the knight. And in the future, is a very typical plan, which is to play d5 and c4. I think d5 is possible here as well. But first, Wesley puts pressure on the b pawn. So c6 can be played, but Gukesh prefers to go active. He says that b4, I'm sacrificing a pawn, and if you take, I'll play ed, opening up my bishop on this diagonal. Rook takes rook. Okay, you take with the queen. So rook takes rook, queen takes, and now all of a sudden you can see that 4 pieces are attacking here. So knight takes, pawn takes on e5. You don't want to be taking d now, because after cb4 white is clearly better with an extra pawn. So knight e5 makes all the sense. Knight takes e5, rook takes e5. The pressure on e4 is huge. f3 definitely makes sense in such a position to reduce that pressure, but queen c2 is played. 1, 2, 3 and 4 defenders. Oh my goodness. Now Gukesh can take on c3, but bishop c3 would hit the rook, so he plays h5. I really like this move because he's angling to play h4. f3 played, and now rook to a5, a beautiful move. So Gukesh is giving up a pawn. C takes b4 and gets in on the a file. This is where Gukesh's creativity on the chessboard comes into picture. He's given up a pawn, he goes h4, he's playing now on the dark squares. Knight h5 can come in, bishop can go to e5, queen a7, many different ideas. And the good news for him is that all of this is working. Bishop g5, this is too risky. A better move was to simply trade off the bishops here with bishop c3. But bishop g5, now rook a1 is a great move. And the point is, after rook a1, the queen cannot move. Like for example, if you go queen d2, already there is queen a7 and rook a2 and it gets really nasty. So goes bishop b1, blocking, and Gukesh has found this incredible continuation, hitting the knight, threatening bishop d3 in fact. Goes in, and for Wesley, this is sure shot loss of material. He takes on d3, gives up his queen. Oh my goodness. So white has 2 pawns, rook and a bishop for the queen. But bishop at 6, the king is weak. The dark squares are terribly weak. Look at this, e3, f4, queen a7. Queen moves into a3. And Gukesh is pressing. Guess Wesley is not lost here, but he's definitely under big pressure. Bishop e3 check. And time-wise, Gukesh has 7 minutes. Wesley has 12. They are on move 36. Bishop takes bishop. This exchange is helpful for Gukesh because now the dark squares are weak. Queen takes b4. He takes it. And now the point for white is that, just hold it all together while black will try to create a passer. c6, d5 is the plan. Knight comes to f4. He does go c6. And now the players have stopped writing. I think Gukesh does not have to write after a point. Maybe when you go below 5 minutes. Check, king g2. He comes in, queen e3, attacking the knight. The knight goes back to h3. And queen to c5, defending the pawn. He comes back to f4. King comes to g7. And there's knight to d3. Gukesh goes queen f5. He's preparing d5. I think it cannot be stopped now. Goes back and plays it. Pawn to d5. It's very difficult for these players to actually, after playing a classical game, shift to rapid, But okay, they've crossed move 40 and b4. What a nice move by Wesley, because if you take bishop d5, this should be closer to equality. So queen a8, keeping this pawn on d5 alive. Bishop b3, queen comes up to b7. And now rook d3, because if you play g5, I have knight h5 and a check coming in here, so you can't win d5. Rook d3, queen b5, rook goes back to d1. And he comes back queen c6, he waits. Because he can't push the pawn, he can't move the knight. h5, what a nice move by Wesley. Because if you take, he wants to play g5. Gukesh goes back, knight h7, attacking g5. He realizes that he now has an h passer. So that's actually a good news for Gukesh. Queen b6, attacks b4 and g5. f4, defending the g5 pawn. Gukesh can win the b4 pawn now. He takes it. Queen takes b4. Wesley So now brings his bishop back to e4. Keeping an eye here. Queen goes to e7. Can we go rook b1, rook b7? Yeah, he does it. Rook b7 on the cards with g6 coming in. Knight f8 is kind of forced. Yes, he plays it, defending against the g6 idea in future. Rook to b7. Eyeing the f7 point. And queen goes back. You could have even played queen d6, which was strong move. Now g6, do you give up this pawn? No, not really. That's too much. King g3 played by Wesley, but now Gukesh is winning. Queen d2. Bring in the queen. Slowly and bring in your knight. Knight e6. It can lead to a huge attack. Knight and queen we know is a great combination. It's called the Capablanca's theorem. He goes queen d4. And leaves the queen there. So close to winning now, Gukesh. King f3. And you can start pushing your h pawn. He first gives a check. Knight goes to d3. And now knight to g6. But this perhaps is not the best. Because king e3 played by Wesley. I mean, exchanging this may not be in black's favor. But Gukesh needs to move his knight. Maybe knight h4. He plays it with just 6 seconds on the clock. But now f5. Wesley pushes f5. He's looking confident because check and there could be a mate. He has to go back. Look at the bishop controlling the h7 square. f6, king g8. Luckily there's no rook b8. But rook a8, rook a7 threatening rook a8. Goes in for the check. King f2 forced. No, he blunders because now knight f3 check wins. And the point is anywhere you go, there's queen c8. No, he misses it. He goes knight f5. Knight f3 was winning, queen c8 check, and then queen e6, and the e4 bishop was hanging in many of the lines. g5 pawn was hanging, king e5 played, and now Gukesh goes queen g3. Oh my goodness, he's given up the knight. Check, king e5, maybe he missed something, or is he really going for this endgame? Queen e6. If you go king d4, queen b6, you lose the rook. So check here. And I think Gukesh can take a draw. No, he goes king e3. Wants to fight. Gukesh takes the pawn with a check. King comes back to e2. And now takes on f6. This endgame is very interesting. Objectively a draw. But both sides will try. In fact, materially, it's very equal. 5 points for the rook, 3 points for each piece. That comes to 11. 9 points for the queen and 2 points for the 2 pawns. Comes to 11 as well. Check. King f2. And now pushing forward. h4. Just going all in. Knight to f4. And you have queen b6 check. King goes to g2. Queen d4. And Wesley comes back. Knight to e2. Attacking the queen. Queen to e3. And yeah, he comes back to a1. Gukesh has a chance. Look at the excitement on his face. He plays h3. King takes. Queen takes f3. It seems like the game is over. But no, knight g3. This is the fortress that Wesley has seen. He goes rook f1 and the pawn cannot move ahead. And that's the reason why this seems like it should be a draw. It should be a fortress. Unless, of course, there is some kind of zugzwang that can happen. Like you just make the pieces run out of moves. Queen e5. Look at Gukesh's focus. He looks up. They are on move 83. Gukesh already has played one game above 30 moves or something with Vincent. Queen d5. King h3 played. Gives a check. King h4. Another check. King g4. Wesley being very careful here. Of course, there are few no's. King h3. f6 pushes the pawn. And rook g4. Gukesh is one of those players who will never ever agree to a draw in such a position, because he knows that he has his chances. There could be blunders by either side. Rook check, king comes in. If the king somehow manages to come in, it can get really nasty. But how to get your king in is the big question. Queen b2, you attack the rook and ask it some tough questions. King h3. I mean, going queen e5 would be a blunder. Rook f5, so queen c3. And Gukesh maybe sees it that there is no way to win yet or not. I don't know. Rook f4 comes back. Wesley's confidence is growing. Gukesh is thinking now. Rook to f5. Queen d4. He's taken away the f4 square, so the rook comes back to f3. King g6. And rook to f5 again. Queen comes here, and hopefully at some point he can pin here and win this. That would be a winning endgame, I think. But now rook goes back. King comes up to h4. Wesley is not scared here. He comes back to h3. He seems to have gotten a hang of this position. Generally, the person trying to win has to invest time. For the person who's trying to draw, the moves are clear. Just keep moving the rook. Rook f1, rook f2, rook f3. Wherever the square is, you just move it. Rook f4. I mean, king g5 is possible now because there's no rook f5, but there's rook g4 check. So, king h4, queen d7, rook check, king goes back, and Wesley plays rook f4, queen goes back to c8, rook f5, queen check, he goes back to h3, king goes up to e6. Where is the win? You can't even push the pawn. That's the tragedy for Gukesh here. He's hoping that his opponent runs out of squares somehow. But there's no running out. Rook f1 comes back. Check. King g2. King e5. Check. King d4. King comes up. And queen to g6. And Wesley now started to play with his right hand, and they offer a draw, and a draw is agreed. What a game. Gukesh is like, I thought I should be winning at some point. And Wesley is like, maybe there was something on a2 that you could have played. Yeah, definitely there was a chance. But the thing about Norway Chess is that you don't have time to think about your current game, as the Armageddon is going to start very soon, where Gukesh will have black pieces and 7 minutes, Wesley will have 10 minutes. We'll bring you the Armageddon game in another video, but we hope that you enjoyed this video, and I feel like Gukesh is slowly getting back into his groove. He's calculating well, he's finding the moves, and this definitely seems slightly different from the way he was playing before. So that's good to see, and we hope that he continues his form in this tournament.